The lightsaber feels wrong in his hands. Not the blue one, that's his, but this other blade, right? Red one. Stolen. Captured from the guy kneeling right there. It's humming at this frequency that Anakin's never felt through his mechanical fingers. Ever. Two sabers crossed at Count Dooku's throat. The old man's hands are somewhere on the deck severed, smoking where the plasma just cauterized the flesh. This is it. Right here. This is the moment. The bridge of the invisible hand, 19 BBY. The Battle of Coruscant going absolutely insane outside the viewports. Explosions framed like, I don't know, like art or something. And Chancellor Palpatine sitting there, bound wrists, watching. That expression on his face? Anakin's never been able to figure out what that means. Dooku looks up, not at the blades at Palpatine, and something happens between them. Some communication in a language Anakin doesn't know yet. You can see it. The Count's expression just shifts, comprehension hitting him like blood spreading through water. Slow, irreversible, final. Do it. 2 words. That's all the Chancellor says. And Anakin, he hesitates. Because Jedi don't execute prisoners. The code forbids it. Obi-Wan would tell him to stand down, arrest the guy, let the Republic's justice system handle it. Do it. The blades close. Count Dooku's head hits the deck before his body even realizes it's dead. The man who trained Qui-Gon Jinn, who trained the Master, who trained Anakin, ends like that. Just a sound. Wet cloth dropping. And Anakin Skywalker standing there, 22 years old, the chosen one of ancient prophecy, holding a dead man's lightsaber, and wondering why victory feels so much like falling. He just killed the guy who killed his lineage, the guy whose whole departure from the Order created this vacuum that let the Clone Wars happen. The enemy Palpatine had promised him. But here's what Anakin doesn't know yet. And here's what Palpatine will never, and I mean never, tell him. Dooku wasn't the enemy. Dooku was the prototype. He was the test run. The proof of concept for everything Sidious was planning to do to Anakin himself. And by killing him, Anakin just passed the audition. Rewind. 32 BBY. Naboo. A funeral pyre's burning, right? And there's this 9-year-old kid, Anakin Skywalker, standing in a crowd of Jedi, watching flames consume the only adult who ever believed in him. No conditions, no reservations, just believed. Qui-Gon Jinn found him on Tatooine. Slave boy. Highest midi-chlorian count ever recorded. And Qui-Gon looked at him and saw something the Jedi Council refused to see. The Council rejected him. Too old, they said. Too attached to his mother. Too afraid. Too dangerous. They're looking at the potential chosen one, and all they see is risk. Qui-Gon looked at him and saw hope. I will train him anyway. That's what Qui-Gon said right in front of the entire council. Defiance. Willing to throw away his standing in the Order for a kid he'd known for less than a week. Then Darth Maul puts a lightsaber through his chest, and Anakin's champion dies on Naboo, while the boy who needed him is waiting in a hangar, knowing something terrible happened, but not understanding what yet. There's this guy at that funeral most people don't notice. Older, silver hair, distinguished. He's standing apart from the other mourners, close enough to feel the heat on his face, watching his former student's body blacken and crack. Count Dooku trained Qui-Gon Jinn. He taught him to question authority, to prioritize conscience over protocol, to act on conviction rather than wait for permission. And every lesson Qui-Gon used to defy the Council over Anakin, those came directly from Dooku's mouth. Now that master's watching his legacy burn. The Council's response to the first confirmed Sith in 1,000 years? Caution, debate, wait and see. Same response they gave when Dooku's friend Sifo Dyas predicted galactic war. Same response after 11 Jedi died at Galadron, because the Council trusted a corrupt planetary governor's lies, didn't even verify, didn't investigate, didn't punish anyone when the truth came out. Within months of that funeral, Dooku walks out of the Jedi Temple. Forever. Becomes the 20th Jedi Master in history to voluntarily leave the Order. The Lost 20. That's what they call it. A list of masters whose conscience couldn't coexist with the Order's direction. At the same funeral, though, there's this newly knighted Obi-Wan Kenobi making a promise to his dying master. He'll train the boy, the one the Council rejected, the one Qui-Gon believed was the chosen one. Two men leave that funeral carrying opposite burdens. Dooku's carrying 70 years of accumulated grievances that finally broke him. Obi-Wan's carrying a 9-year-old child and this impossible task, raising a messiah. Both of them are about to be used by the same monster. Here's what the Jedi Archive doesn't record. Dooku's criticisms of the Order? They were accurate. By 32 BBY, he's watched the institution he loved become something unrecognizable. At Galadron in 44 BBY, 11 Jedi died because the Council deployed a strike force based on a planetary governor's fabricated atrocity reports. Never verified, never investigated, never punished after the truth emerged. The sole Mandalorian survivor guy named Jango Fett, he walked away carrying decades of hatred for the Order burned into his bones. And Dooku's friend Sifo Dyas? He'd had visions. Prophetic flashes showing millions dying, systems burning, the Republic tearing itself apart. Around 40 BBY, he's begging the Council to prepare, and they dismiss him. Anxiety, they said. Eventually removed him from the Council entirely for his radical ideas about military preparedness. So 34 BBY, Jedi Master Katri gets murdered, Senator Dagonet's guards. It's all tangled up in this corruption investigation. And Dooku and Qui-Gon, they're out there trying to solve it. But here's where it gets sketchy. Dooku uses these force techniques to get the confession, right? And the Council's like, yeah, effective. But also, ew, that's not how we do things. So they get their answer. Then they've got to fill Katri's seat on the Council. Who do they pick? Mace Windu. Not Dooku. Process over results. Methodology over justice. Think about that for a second. Then Qui-Gon dies, fighting a Sith that the Council didn't even believe was real. And something in Dooku, man, something just breaks. And suddenly, every criticism he'd ever made about the Order was right. They're politically compromised. They didn't see the Sith coming back. They're failing the galaxy while they're meditating on peace. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets tragic. Dooku's legitimate grievances, they lead him straight into Palpatine's trap. The Sith Lord doesn't corrupt him, not really. He recruits him. He recognizes that Dooku's right. He sees the analysis is accurate, the frustration's justified, the moral clarity is genuine. And he offers Dooku exactly what the Order never would, the power to actually do something. Around 32 BBY, Dooku becomes Darth Tyrannus, and his first big move as a Sith? He orders the assassination of Sifo Dyas, his oldest friend. This guy who'd secretly commissioned a clone army from the Kaminoans because even after getting booted from the Council, he still believed in protecting the galaxy. Dooku has the Pike Syndicate kill him. Then he steals his identity, takes over the whole clone project. The genetic template for 1.2 million clone soldiers? Jango Fett, the sole survivor of Galadron. And this guy, he watched the Jedi massacre his entire comrades over a politician's lies. The irony is perfect. Absolutely perfect. The army that's supposed to fight alongside the Jedi? It's built from a Mandalorian who dreams of Jedi blood. And eventually, that army executes Order 66. Dooku spends a decade building the separatist movement. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker's growing up in the Jedi Temple. Same order, same flaws, different responses. Think about what Anakin's actually experiencing during all this. Really think about it. The Council rejects him at age 9. Then years later they train him, but only because a dying man's last wish forces their hand. And every single day in that temple, Anakin's carrying the knowledge that they didn't want him. They took him because Qui-Gon's sacrifice made it politically impossible to say no. Not because they believed in him, not because they wanted him, because they had to. He's growing up surrounded by kids who've been in the Order since they're infants. Kids who've never had mothers, never been slaves, never felt that desperate hope of freedom getting dangled, then ripped away. But Anakin? He remembers his mom. Every night, for years, he's dreaming about her, still trapped on Tatooine, while he's learning to levitate rocks on Coruscant. The code tells him attachment is weakness. Let go of the people you love. The code, it's written by people who've never had to let go of anything because they were never allowed to hold on in the first place. Dooku sees the Order's hypocrisy from inside. He's a master, watching the institution fail its own ideals. Anakin sees it from below, as a student whose entire existence violates principles the Jedi claim to believe. Both of them are right. And both of them are being watched. Palpatine's been cultivating Anakin since before the Clone Wars even started. The Chancellor of the Republic, secretly Darth Sidious, takes a special interest in the young Jedi the moment he arrives on Coruscant. Private meetings, concerned conversations, a sympathetic ear when the Council frustrates him, when Obi-Wan disappoints him, when the rigid structure of Jedi life rubs against everything Anakin feels. You're special, Palpatine tells him, over and over, 1,000 different ways. They don't understand you. They fear what you could become. But I see it. I see your potential. Same manipulation he used on Dooku, except refined, targeted at a younger guy. Dooku wants to reform a corrupt system. Palpatine offers him the Separatists' coalition of systems, tired of Republic corruption, corporate interests strangled by Senate regulations, species marginalized by core world politics. Dooku thinks he's building something better. He's actually building Palpatine's excuse for emergency powers. Anakin wants to save the people he loves. Palpatine offers him visions of Padme dying, then dangles the possibility of power over death itself. Anakin thinks he can cheat fate. He's actually dismantling the only institutions capable of stopping the Sith, the Clone Wars. 3 years of galactic conflict, 22 to 19 BBY, and they serve both purposes at the same time. Dooku commands the Separatist droid armies. He believes he's tearing down a corrupt republic to build something worthy. Anakin serves as a Jedi general. He believes he's defending democracy against secessionist aggression. Both of them are fighting Palpatine's war. Both sides, manufactured by the same architect. And the Jedi Order, magnificent in its blindness, becomes exactly what Dooku accused them of. Generals leading clone soldiers into battles that serve a Sith Lord's agenda. Every criticism Dooku leveled at the Order before he left proves accurate during the war. They've become political instruments, tools of manipulation. Dooku sees it from outside, commanding forces that are designed to lose. Anakin sees it from inside, watching Jedi die for strategic objectives that never make sense, fighting a war that never ends, serving a republic that's worth less and less with every passing month. So when Dooku tells Obi-Wan the truth on Geonosis, what if I told you that the Republic was now under the control of a Dark Lord of the Sith? He's not lying. The Jedi dismiss it as manipulation, but it's actually a confession, and that matters. Now. The invisible hand. Anakin standing over Dooku's body, both lightsabers still humming, and the Chancellor, he just gets up, out of his chair, walks over and puts this grandfatherly hand on Anakin's shoulder like he's proud of him. You did well, Anakin. But something's wrong. You can feel it. Something doesn't land right. Dooku, before he dies, before his head leaves his body, he doesn't look at Anakin, doesn't even look at the blades. He looks at Palpatine, like he's waiting, like he expected something, like Palpatine was supposed to do something. And then Palpatine says it. He was too dangerous to be kept alive. Here's the thing that's the exact justification. Months later, when Mace Windu's got a lightsaber at Palpatine's throat, Anakin uses those same words. Same logic. Same outcome. Execution without trial. Action without thinking. Just power. because the power's there to use. Dooku was always supposed to die on that bridge. Not because he failed, because he succeeded. His whole purpose, it was never to win the war. Never. It was to create the conditions where Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader. He was never the heir. He was the tool. Anakin was always the prize. That's the line in Sith philosophy that explains everything. And I mean everything. Dooku spends a decade thinking, actually believing that he's Sidious's partner, the guy who's going to help run this reformed galaxy. But he's not. He's the whetstone. He's the opponent that sharpens Anakin into a weapon designed to destroy the Jedi from the inside. Every battle Anakin fights against the Separatists, preparation. Every confrontation with Dooku's allies, training. Every loss, every frustration, every moment the war makes the Jedi look like they're complicit in endless slaughter, it all pushes Anakin closer to that breaking point. The one Palpatine calculated from the beginning. And Dooku dies, still believing he's the hero of his own story, still believing the Jedi needed to fall. Maybe, and this is important, maybe he's even right about that. Maybe the galaxy is better without them. But his failure, his real failure, it's not losing faith in the Order. It's thinking Palpatine was an alternative. Anakin makes the same mistake. He watches Mace Windu raise a lightsaber at the Chancellor. He's too dangerous to be left alive, and chooses the Sith Lord, cuts off Windu's hand, watches Palpatine's lightning send him screaming out a window. Same choice Anakin made on the invisible hand, just reversed. Dooku's too dangerous to keep alive, Palpatine's too valuable to let die. Both calculations, made by a man who's been told his entire life that attachments are weaknesses, emotions are flaws, love is heresy. The Jedi taught Anakin to suppress everything that makes him human. They never taught him what to do when suppression breaks. Dooku falls because he cares too much about institutional reform. Anakin falls because he cares too much about one woman. Both exploited by a monster who understands that caring, if you weaponize it correctly, destroys everything it touches. The Jedi's greatest failure wasn't losing Dooku, wasn't even losing Anakin. Their greatest failure was creating the conditions that made both losses inevitable, and then acting shocked when the inevitable actually happened. So Dooku gets added to the lost 20. His name gets erased from honorable memory. The Order's answer to their greatest critic? Pretend he never existed. Anakin? Different story. He doesn't get erased. He gets transformed. Becomes the mask. Becomes the breathing. Becomes that monster in black armor hunting Jedi survivors across the galaxy for 20 years. On the bridge of the invisible hand, when the lightsaber removes Dooku's head, that's when Anakin Skywalker takes his first step toward becoming that monster. Not because he killed a Sith Lord, because he killed a prisoner, because Palpatine told him to, and because, and this is the crucial part, he discovered how easy it was. The man kneeling in front of him, he trained the master who trained Anakin's master. 3 generations of Jedi lineage, all shaped by Dooku's teachings about questioning authority and acting on conscience. Qui-Gon learns it and dies for it. Obi-Wan learns it and passes it to Anakin. Anakin learns it and uses it to justify executing an unarmed man on a Chancellor's command. The lessons travel down the line, mutating at each step, until they become permission for atrocity. Dooku was right about the Jedi, and Anakin standing over his corpse proved it. Subscribe for more stories like this.